Now, you all know what research is. I'll just display a definition given by the American sociologist. It's a systematic inquiry. You explain, you predict, and you control the observed phenomenon. Now, to explain, to describe, you need language. The person who reads should get an idea of what exactly you are trying to explain. What exactly are you describing? So language is equally important in research also. It's science researchers and the expectations in language use. What of it and how to develop. That's what I'll be focusing on. As students of science, you use language almost every day for your academic purposes. Can you think of a few instances where you use language every day? In your class, you'll be using language every day as students of science. I hope you've identified at least one or two. Well, every day you take classroom notes, the lecture notes, and finally you prepare for your examination and you write the answers. Of course, you have to write project reports, lab record, then research papers and scientific articles and so on. All these need language, but this is a different kind of language. It's academic writing, and academic writing is very formal. It is very different from writing a letter to your friend. You will always have to think of the audience to whom you are writing, you see, and this comes through practice. Incidentally, for most postgraduate students, academic writing is a paper prescribed for study. Now imagine you've become a scientist, then later your audience is going to change. Earlier it used to be the teacher and the examiner who was going to test, but now your audience changes. Can you think of a few instances of the audiences, how different the audiences will be? It could be specific technical audience, someone from your own background. If you're a nanoscientist, then of course you'll be focusing on that. General audiences, just scientists alone, general technical audiences. Sometimes it might be the layman who has no idea of the kind of technical work or the terminology, and you'll have to explain in very simple terms. You have to come down to the level. See, when the audience varies, what is important is the language will also have to change. You cannot write a technical article in an ordinary newspaper to publish your finding. You'll have to change it to suit the general audience and even the ordinary layman. So this comes only through practice, you see. The language use is essentially different. Basically, scientists need two main types. It could be general writing. You'll be making notes, comments. Maybe you'll be typing personal emails and letters. That's the general writing. But look at the technical writing you're doing. To get the higher job, a high post, you may have to write a resume. If you're holding a key post, you'll have to conduct meetings, prepare agendas. You'll have to issue memos. You have to write business letters. You have to prepare technical reports, industrial reports. All these are very different from the kind of writing you normally use for ordinary conversation. It's very technical. And I'm afraid in just 1 hour, I cannot cover all these. I can only sensitize you to some of these aspects. So let us focus on a few. Now you can see two different types: report writing, article writing, and writing a proposal. This is normally what you do. Here, to attend this webinar or even the conference, here, of course, we are using the screen. It is, though it is in the synchronous mode. Imagine if it's an actual face-to-face meeting. What you see on the right is the face-to-face meeting. But what you see on the left, you write the article, then they read only the article. What you write, you are trying to communicate essentially through your writing. But in the second instance, when on conference lectures, you're meeting face to face. Is there any difference in that? Well, there's a very famous study done by this particular person, and he calls it the 7-38-55 rule of communication. People are very conscious when they prepare their presentations. This is what he was trying to say. In any communication, the words count only 7%. In any communication, it will be just 7%. The words have only that importance. Your voice, in a face-to-face communication, the voice, 38%. Now, what the kind of language I'm using now, the tone I'm using is all important. And of course, the physiology. What is the physiology? The face. I'm sure you can't see my face now. The smile, the eyes, your posture. When you're making a face-to-face presentation, all these count. But look, 55% is non-verbal. You see, verbal words, 7% only. Now, there are several language skills in writing reports and writing articles and proposals. All these skills, listening, speaking, reading, communication skills, grammar, all these are there. But in report articles and all, what is more important is the writing skill and the knowledge of grammar and usage and your vocabulary. But if you're listening to someone reading out a report, yes, listening is also important. But in this, the knowledge of grammar, the vocabulary, all these are important. But let's look at the other one. In a conference, lecture, meeting, what is important? What is important is the ability to listen to and speak. That's very important. Of course, your ability to communicate is important, for which you will be using your vocabulary, your repertoire of vocabulary. Then you have to write well. The text of your lecture should be well written so that you can present it properly. It should have a good introduction, good beginning, good quotations to draw the interest of the speaker and so on. All this comes through practice, which is writing actually. But then basically it is listening and speaking, which comes through practice. There was a recent study which was done in the United States. What they found was of several different things that people fear, speaking to the general public, to the public, that is what people fear most. Even the death wish comes only second. They fear speaking to another person. You see how important it is?